Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar for today. Let me go ahead and share my screen. We are going to be diving into something that we do regular, what's new in Microsoft Update. We had been doing it for, here, let me get this going before, yep, there we go. We have been doing this regularly for Smartsheet, but because we have really been working a lot in Microsoft over the last year or two, and the updates are coming fast and furious from Microsoft. It feels like we are constantly getting new things pop up on Teams and other places. We're going to be doing this at least once a quarter as well, as a way for you to get a good update on what's happening in Microsoft you might have. So on this first slide, Molly Innes was on the slide. She wasn't able to join today, but I've got a couple other Echo folks on here as well. Thank you. And there's a couple pictures here I just wanted to include. We had a great time last year at the Microsoft 365 Community Conference. And that's actually one of the, let me skip ahead a little bit, one of the resources that I'd like to point folks to if they're trying to learn more about what is going on in Microsoft. That's this. Microsoft Ignite has a lot of free digital content from, that's like community conference as well that happens every spring. It's the photos I just showed, Microsoft Community Conference. Either one of those are great places to look for some of the newest things coming out of Microsoft. A few other resources here on this slide. Our Echolocity YouTube channel has quite a number of Microsoft focused videos, so definitely check those out. I've been working to get out more just kind of basic how-tos related to project management in Microsoft. So looking at Microsoft Loop and Planner, and even Teams, some like the things you're going to be potentially using a lot for project management. We'll talk a little more about that in a second, but check out our videos. Microsoft also has a big library of learning resources. There's a lot you can access just to check or see documentation, but you also can sign up for their courses. Their certification paths are very well structured if you've ever tried to do those before, and you can even get some official certifications if that's useful to you or your organization. Another place that I really like to look for understanding really like the current state of particular things in Microsoft is the product roadmap. And I'm going to show some developments happening on each product. What has been rolled out, what date was it rolled out, what is being planned to be rolled out in the next several months. And they keep that up to date in a pretty detailed way. When Molly and I went to the conference last year, they actually pulled the roadmap up and fielded questions that people had of like, oh, you said you were going to roll this out in August. Is it coming yet? And they were able to give the updates on those different pieces. So this is a really useful resource on specific updates on particular products that you might have heard about. Microsoft also has lots of blogs on lots of different topics. I put the link in for Copilot. The Copilot blog is having lots of activity on it right now because they have been focusing on developing it out as their AI tool so much. But there are blogs from Microsoft related to a lot of other products as well, and some general topics. They actually have a full AI blog too if you are interested in what they're writing and putting out more generally on AI. Looking ahead, I took a quick look just at the Microsoft newsroom for their users. As you can see, this is just a screenshot from that website. AI is mentioned in almost every blurb, like almost every title and picture. So that is very much at the forefront. That's probably not a surprise to any of us. We're hearing about it all over the place. But that is definitely a place where they are focusing a ton of their development and their marketing and everything as what they see as the future for the next few years where they're really focusing. There was a bit too about cloud computing, and this is one of those areas. There's been development and work and everything in cloud computing for a long time, but because of the way organizations are scaling and the technology technology is rapidly changing, it's important to continue to be updated on what the options are for your organization around cloud computing. What are the concerns? What are the security things that are starting to come up? What are the price points for different kinds of cloud computing? So I just wanted to highlight that because it's another one that shows up quite frequently in the Microsoft materials as a place they are really working on. And again, kind of unsurprisingly, there's a lot going on in reaction or in concert with the national and international political pieces happening. Microsoft is a huge company in the US, one of our big technological leaders, and they are going to be affected by and also affect the way some of these national trends and debates are going. So that's important to keep in mind as you're thinking about your organization's use of Microsoft and the place of it in the overall sphere. Barbara, Kelly, anything you've heard recently in the news or been wondering about Microsoft that?
No, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, and really the AI piece is obviously the biggest one. Obviously, it's been talked about a lot for some time, but it just seems like it keeps compounding, and it more and more and more visible every day passes. So interested to hear more on that space.
Yep, absolutely. I did pull out a few highlights as well, kind of in the Microsoft news, specifically related to project management and what I tend to use a lot for project management in the Microsoft world. I pay attention particularly to Microsoft Planner because that has had a bunch of updates recently, and it's really the space that Microsoft is pushing for improved project management capabilities. One of the big as they were developing Planner anyway, but it was very confusing. You would sometimes see something called Project for the Web, you'd sometimes see it called Planner Premium. I believe this was always the premise of the updates they were making to Planner, was to build on top of what they had put together for Project for the Web, but make it better and make it more integrated with Teams and with these other apps. But if you hear the language around retiring Project for the Web, that is officially happening actually this August. They're rolling out an adoption plan. They have a whole page about making sure your organization is ready to adopt Planner. Honestly, even if you're still using Project for the Web in some way, it's just going to roll over into Planner. It's not a big siren that you're going to lose access to anything, but they're going to update all the naming. Things are going to be called Planner instead of Project for the Web. The place where I've seen it is with Power BI. Power BI has some out-of-the-box, really nice apps built around what was consistent, more clear that this is connected to the data you're using in Planner.
Is there still going to be a, sorry, I'm not super well versed in Microsoft Project. Is there still going to be an app version of Microsoft Project? Like, is Microsoft Project going away completely, or just the web version? Because it's less robust, right? Because I think there's a few different versions, and that one's less robust. So now they're saying, hey, we're not going to have this less robust Microsoft Project version, and we're going to push you towards Planner.
I feel like I need to make a video on this because it is extremely confusing. So Project, what do they call it? Microsoft Project Desktop is its own app. It actually does not even connect with Project for the Web. That is the standalone kind of traditional, very robust, traditional project management tool that you think of. That is not being retired. That is not going away. Microsoft has kept hearing from there are organizations that still use it a lot, that are still very dependent on it. So as far as I've been able to find, there aren't plans to officially retire Microsoft Project Desktop anytime soon. There's Project Online, which is the online version of Project Desktop. That is also not going away. Those two are going to keep existing. Project for the Web was this like Project Lite version that was developed to be specifically like a little more user-friendly, becoming fully Planner. So it is this naming thing has been confusing the whole way through. Project, desktop project, project online will keep existing. If you were using project for the web, which honestly I got the feeling not that many people were doing anyway, that's what's being folded into the new planner.
Okay, cool. Thanks. That makes sense.
Yep. And the thing
oh, go ahead.
I was just saying the thing where you'll see that difference is still like the licensing and subscription models. You still have to have a whole additional license for a desktop planner. Sorry, desktop project desktop. The old project, that's still an additional license. It's the most expensive one. That will still continue. The licensing, the naming of the licensing will change a bit for project for the web now becoming planner as well. And that actually has been happening already.
Is this planner adoption page? I don't know what that is and what you're going into there, but would love to hear, Caroline, if there's been any. I know you've talked to us about it in the. And I know they've come up with a lot of new functionality in Planner, but I didn't know, like, are they releasing very regularly, or are you seeing it has like plateaued after adding in some of the additional functionality? I'm curious if you have any info on that. Caroline, we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. How about now?
There you go. You popped back in, so just start that again.
So I was just saying that is a very good question. I have been seeing a pretty steady update that they are pushing. I wouldn't honestly say new functionality. It's functionality you're going to be used to in other project management software. They made a big deal that they made it, you can now baseline dates, which like you can do already in lots of other work management tools, but that's new for Planner, that you can baseline dates. So a lot of things are kind of bringing it up to snuff with sort of standard project management things. The dependencies are better now and they're easier to see on a timeline view. Integrating it a little better with Teams, that it's easier to just quickly shift back and forth between your Planner view and Teams. Those are the thing. I'll filter it by, I was looking at Loop, but I can filter it by, they should have a Planner section. There it is, Planner. Oh, sorry, let me clear my filters. I think it was filtering by too many things. Okay, Planner. There we go. So it's been a pretty steady rollout. Here's that baseline thing that they were so excited about. Like that was rolled out in November. Portfolio capabilities, which was this idea of looking at projects against each other in a portfolio view, being able to see the board view in my tasks. These are fairly small updates, honestly, that just make it a little more functional and a little closer to the kind of standard we like for project management tools. Some of these are going to be very specific to whether you're paying for a premium plan. You get to use more tasks and more dependencies if you're paying for a premium plan with that extra premium license versus if you're just still on basic. In general, what I would say I've seen is they're really focusing on the premium level plans in Planner, which is this version of Project for the Web, like that's basic plans, which is what is available for free to anyone in Teams, isn't getting a whole lot added to it. It's continuing to work kind of like the To-Do app, which already was in Teams, like fine for task tracking. You can look at a list, you can look at a board. I wouldn't say, I'm not sure they're going to develop that piece of it much more because people to use premium plans for project planning. So there is a bit of a divide there as far as the development goes. But yeah, good question. Did I answer your question there?
Yeah, no, that's really helpful. And I would just say for the folks watching or participating, was that link in that slide linking to this page that you have here, the Adopt Planner Adoption link? Your audio is cutting out again.
The Planner adoption page was this one, the new Microsoft Planner, which really has the overview if you're sort of thinking about starting to use Planner for the first time. What I was just showing was the Microsoft 365 roadmap.
I
which
saw
was
that
on
on a previous slide. Okay. Yeah, that's just really helpful. On their side.
So Planner is one of the apps that I really pay attention to the development for because of the project management capability and because they've been pushing out, as we were saying, a lot of updates and a lot of changes around it. I also, as we probably all do, pay attention to the Teams updates. There have been a lot of those recently. Sometimes to everyone's chagrin or not, some of them have been more cosmetic changes, some functionality improvements, kind of making things work the way you sort of think they should in Teams. The two significant ones that I get a lot of questions about and that really affect people the most are the new chat and channel experience. That was introduced a few months ago. Where you could choose whether to basically combine all your chats and team channels in one sidebar or keep them as separate views the way you would in the older version of Teams. They are just continuing to encourage people to move to that new experience, which is an adjustment for folks if they're used to the older version. The other piece
not moved. I have not. I wanted to keep them separate. Have you?
I'm not going to open up my Teams chat right now just to avoid I'm not sure what's totally in there. I have been using the new experience. It encourages you to think of it in a slightly more unified way, like the way you actually tend to experience it. I've got a chat from someone and I've got a channel message from someone. I can just see it in order of when the most recent was received. The key, I think, for those is they have added a lot more settings, essentially to give you more options of how you want to see them. So that was one thing that I adjusted was I want to see this show up in my notification bell, if it's a chat message from a team member. But I don't want it to show up in I don't want it to be a pop-up in a meeting. Like you really can toggle all those options on and off. And I've been doing that gradually, like adjusting this, like really honing in my settings so that it's most useful for me. A lot of people don't know where those settings are or haven't looked at them before. So that's what I've been encouraging teams to do is take a look at what the settings are. You have to decide if you're going to have a standard for your organization, like every show up, and then make sure from the administrative side that people have the ability to adjust those settings. Default is that they do, but there is an admin option to disallow some of that control. So that's kind of a two-part, like thinking about it from an administrative organizational viewpoint, and then how to help individuals adjust their settings because it's going to be account by account gets to choose what some of those settings are for teams.
Nice. That's really helpful, Caroline. That makes me want to test it. And I think what's cool is that you can test it. Like I'm looking in the settings right now and I can switch it to combined, but it's not like it's taking away the ability for me to separate them again. So I might try it for a day or so and see how I like it and see if I want to jump towards that or go back until they continue to build it out. So we'll see. Caroline, I think whenever you start talking after you stop, it takes a second for some reason. I don't know if it's your mic, but just FYI, I saw your mouth moving but couldn't hear you talking.
At it before, there are some general options, but the options I was just talking about are in this chats and channels section. And you can even choose if you want to see them combined, if you want to keep them separate, and then what the different options are. And then notifications and activity, they have added a lot more options there. Where do you want the notification to show up if you're having it come up in a pop-up? Where do you want it, if you're getting an app mention, if you're getting included in a tag, that kind of thing. So dialing in those settings does help sort of best utilize that new experience of the chats and channels being together in one view in Teams. The other app that I pay a lot of attention to from the project management side, in addition to Planner and Teams, and I didn't mention, there's a new calendar experience in Teams. It is intended to be better integrated with Outlook. I'm not even going to show it. It looks a lot like the new Outlook. And for the most part, it's pretty consistent with Outlook, but that was in February. That's a newer update for Teams as well. Microsoft Loop is another app that I pay attention to the updates coming through, and they don't actually have a super up-to-date blog or whatever for whatever reason, but this is a Loop. And some of these updates, there haven't been huge updates around it recently, but it is one of the places that Copilot essentially has a lot of functionality within Loop. It's one of the places they've really focused on making Copilot really connected, and they're actually using it kind of as a bridge for some other apps. Like if you want to use Copilot, copy and paste that text into Loop and then do Copilot on it. So it's a good app to get familiar with or think about using, because I think they're going to keep leaning on it for more and more sort of a bridge to Copilot or an easy way to use Copilot. Any other questions on that? We talked about kind of general news updates from Microsoft, and then some of these specific updates around apps related to project management. Cool. So what I was planning to look at for most of the rest of the time was that big theme of AI and Copilot. And part of why we're talking about this is Microsoft has put it so much at the that was a big deal for Microsoft, and they actually are changing, they are forefronting it so much that they're even changing some of the names. You might or might not have noticed this, but Microsoft 365, what used to be the Office app, where you'd go to like office.com or office.microsoft.com if you were going online, they are officially changing that to be the Microsoft 365 Copilot app. They're changing the icon so that it now is the same as the Copilot icon. Like they're really trying to get people to think about like the Copilot AI experience as the way you are interacting with the whole, what used to be the whole Office experience. I actually bought a new laptop recently, and there's a Copilot key on my keyboard now with this icon. So yeah, which I honestly haven't used it that, I'm usually typing on like another keyboard, so I forget it's there. But it's just another, like they're really trying to push it even into the hardware, like the keyboard, as a place that you quickly turn for stuff. In the webinar, I won't go through this in detail, but we do have a lot of resources if you're trying to learn about Copilot, you're trying to figure out how to use it. We've got used across sort of your standard Office apps and stream videos, Teams, Outlook, Loop, like I've been mentioning. Copilot is probably already showing up for you there, or you're getting the prompt if you would like to try Copilot if you don't have a Copilot license yet in all of these apps as well. And particularly in these, like the Power Platform, the more data-heavy apps, I have been seeing like really robust things getting pushed out. First, in an application like Power Apps, where you can build your own app, you can use the AI to walk you through almost from start to finish building an app. Like for someone that's not a developer, start telling the AI what you want to do with the app, and it will start laying out your outline of the app. The app could look like this. You need to clarify these roles before you decide what to do on this screen. So those data-driven apps in particular have some really interesting use cases getting developed out for people to be using.
So, Caroline, just to be clear on those, what you're describing here is if you have a Copilot license, which is separate from Copilot Chat.
I haven't looked at it too much yet in Teams. the kind of more like this. You get this Copilot screen. You can actually look it up in your browser too. You can try Copilot for free in your browser if you do copilot.microsoft.com, I think, but it looks very much like this. And this is going to be more what we think of similar to other chatbot experiences like ChatGPT or something else, where you ask it a question. You have the option to pull in any files that you've got within your Microsoft environment, but it's going to respond and you can prompt it some more. Like, this is where you get that kind of chatbot experience for Copilot. The difference in these apps is Copilot is very much integrated into how the app already functions, essentially, and can even do or suggest some of the things that you might want the app to do. I can show the example actually in Planner. This is very new, one of the Planner updates. I didn't share it as a major update because it's still in preview technically. Like, I don't think it's broadly rolled out. They said it's like as of April, it was still being partially rolled out to users that get. There's now this little project manager agent, which is a manager to get you to start thinking of it in terms of this agent idea. And you can prompt it, like actually put a prompt right in here to do something. This was the prompt that I put in: create a plan for the development of a new software feature. That was all I wrote in here. And it generated a group of tasks and gave me the opportunity to assign them to people. And I actually assigned some of them to the project manager agent. And once you start interacting with it like that, you can see that in theory, the project manager agent was able to complete some of these tasks. Now, the big caveat of this is it wasn't actually doing these tasks in the sense that we think of them. It evaluated something like the task was here you can see conduct market research to identify user needs and preferences for a new software feature. What the agent did was think about it and then in loop spit out this plan for someone to do this task. It didn't actually do this task. It's still not quite at that level of performing the task in the way that we think of it. So I think that'll be the next step. I tried something even simpler. Well, what I thought of is kickoff meeting through my calendar. It gave me the steps in writing of how to do that. But we're still a little ways in that when they talk about agents and things being agentic and that kind of thing. In our project management world, we're still a few steps from the AI actually being able to do those steps. But it is getting closer and can give you a really good starting point for some of these things. In theory, at some point, probably not in the too distant future, you could take a list of tasks and assign them to an agent. The one thing that was nice that it was doing was once it got to a stopping point, it would assign it back to you. Like if it needed input or got stopped on something, it would assign that task back to me, and I would get a notification that I needed to come in and give more input or, refine the question or whatever it was. So all this is, I have access to this because I have a Copilot license and I use Premium and am able to access Premium Planner. So going back to the original question, that is different from the Copilot chat app that you do not. Preview of where I was going next anyway was this agent idea where Microsoft, this is I started my slideshow from the beginning. Let me do this from current slide. This is actually a visual from Microsoft of what they are working on and where they see AI agents going next. It can already do some of these simple things. What is, if I gave in loop, copy my plan with the updated status of a bunch of tasks into loop, it could answer this question. What is the status of phase 2 for Project X and the remaining budget? it can already do if you have connected help desk documentation, like available in, a SharePoint folder that's connected with Teams. You could ask Copilot, how do I connect to the corporate network? And it could search through your help documentation and spit out an answer to that. Obviously, that's not even stuff yet that is super useful necessarily, or saving someone a lot of time. But as it gets better, an actual agent that can do actions, they're anticipating being able to actually perform some of these workflows with one prompt or one button, like request a new laptop and send approvals, open up purchase orders and review them and begin financial planning, and then finally getting to the point of full interaction with the agent as if it were essentially a role, like a role within a team that can do certain things and then hand tasks back to the manager or someone like that. So they do see it going in this way. From my own experience using it, it is exciting, but I would say it's still very much back on the simple level as far as what it's able to do effectively right now. Has anyone else messed around with the AI some or found it useful in your workflows right now?
I definitely haven't gotten into the agent space, and I don't have a Copilot license. I just have Copilot Chat, but have used it for simple things like meeting transcriptions and getting meeting notes and action items, or like an overview or summary by experience with other AI tools, but not with the Copilot Chat on like idea generating or creating an outline just to get you like kind of started on something. So I have not experienced or experimented enough with that. But yeah, I think the Copilot license seems cool, and I look forward to when it can do things like schedule meetings for you, or if you ask for an overview of a meeting, not having to go and get the transcription and download it and upload it. I don't know if the Copilot license can do that. You might be able to speak to that, Caroline, but that would be like somewhere where I could see a lot of value. It's just like automatically every meeting that I have that's recorded, it gives me that outline, which actually I'm pretty sure that does do that, because I think
that it can do now. Yeah, that it can do now if you have the Copilot license. You'll see it alongside. You do have to record the transcription. That's the one catch. You need to be recording the meeting because it works off the transcription, not off like just the video itself. It records, it keeps track of the transcription, and after the meeting also has to be finished. The AI can't do as much while you're still, recording the transcription, but after the meeting is finished, you can do that. You can ask it to summarize a meeting, generate an outline. I've actually done clues, which is interesting. I remembered in a meeting that we had the transcript, and I didn't really want to rewatch the hour-and-a-half meeting or whatever it was it came out of. So I asked Copilot, like, when did we have a disagreement and what was it about? And it immediately was able to identify, just from the exchange, like the people talking back and forth, like, so-and-so disagreed about this. However, you did decide to do this and it resolved. And it was correct, like based on the transcription. The caveat, one of the caveats now, which I think everyone kind of knows about AI generally, but you do always have to check. Especially like in our situation when we're interacting with clients and sending stuff out to clients, I would never send a meeting summary just straight from AI without checking that it seemed accurate and all of that. But I find it's really helpful for that sort of detail coming through. We do a lot of things with clients like requirements gathering, where we're talking about pretty detailed stuff for an hour or two. And I take notes and I am paying attention and doing those questions, but if I have AI going through a transcript, it can help pull out a lot of those details really quickly. And right now, at least, to use it in Teams. The general use of AI, I think that's getting pretty common too in other tools that we see. Loom with an M is a video recording software that we use sometimes and other groups use, and their AI has gotten much better at using it for transcripts, essentially. You can now actually highlight words in a transcript and delete, and it will cut out that little piece of the video, which is really cool. But that's the AI, like, having done the transcript and then matching it to where it is in the video. So I think we'll continue to see that get built out. Video and images and the audio associated with it have been one of the leading areas that AI has been working because of that needing the input, needing the data, but then the emphasis has been on this language learn. Like, it's one of the areas that AI has done a lot of training and spent a lot of time in already. So I think we'll always see advances in that area, maybe before we do in some other spots. Before, I'm going to move off of AI just a little bit, unless anyone has any other specific questions. The other piece, I would say, this is a little bit more of a updates are great and help improve our lives at work. Sometimes also, though, they're overwhelming. Like, when every time you're opening Teams, there's a prompt of, like, when you open Teams again and updates happen, you get a list of whatever those updates are. That stuff's all hard to keep up with. People that are using these apps in their daily lives often don't necessarily want to switch to a whole new version of Outlook or a whole new version of Teams. And in general, Microsoft's approach has been to develop, they have a need or identify a use case that they want to do, and they spin up an app for it and just spit it out without necessarily integrating it real well with the whole environment. That's what we're seeing with Planner. They had this to-do task list version, they had Project that existed over here, they had Planner in Teams, but those had all been spit out at slightly different times and at slightly different things and overlapped in different ways. To-do was well integrated in Outlook, but not well integrated in Teams before. So the effort around Planner now is partly just to consolidate all those different places that task management was happening. This is an area I think Microsoft is trying to marketplace in general. Our founder, Molly, talks about how, when she was first starting looking at project management software, there were a lot of different ones and they would kind of specialize in different things. Everyone's kind of got overload now with all these different tools. The desire is really to consolidate and be working out of one space where you can not have to switch between all these different apps. And so a lot of Microsoft's language now is trying to fit that of, like, you can do everything in Microsoft now. You don't need to go out to 6 different tools. Even within Microsoft, we don't want you to have to switch between 6 different tools in the course of a day. I would argue they're not totally successful on that experience yet, but I think they are going to keep trying to make things more integrated so that you're not having this experience so much of just, I have to go here and here and here and here and here, even within Microsoft. And where is stuff? Where do I find the thing that I had? They are working to try to make that a more consolidated experience. One of the big places we have seen that I think everyone's just kind of used to now is that SharePoint essentially is in Teams. Like, you don't have to go to SharePoint to find whatever file you're using. It is organized around Teams. Access is managed around Teams. You can still have things in SharePoint, but I think because the SharePoint the file experience is so integrated in Teams itself, that push to make things a more holistic, integrated experience. The trade-off with that is losing some of the specific things that people do like about some of these apps. If there is a particular way that you really like working in, well, for me, an example is the old Outlook. I like the old Outlook better because of some real specific things I could do. I could have my team, my internal team, everyone's account grouped under one team. And if I checked the checkbox for the team, it would quickly show me that group of people's calendars. Now I have to manually check or uncheck every person's calendar if I want to see it. It's a small thing. I don't know why they got rid of it for the new Outlook, but it does annoy me that I can't do that anymore. And when you're thinking about,
too.
yeah,
it's really small, but like I used to, sometimes you just get a bunch of like auto emails, or like I have a bunch of separate accounts for the same system that we use. So I get the same email 6 times in a row. And so I used to be able to highlight all of them and mark them as unread or as read in the email pane. Now I have to click. There is a button at the top, but so it is really. Otherwise, you have to like click every single one. So anyway.
Just something to think about if you're rolling out or having to deal with rolling out new versions of these things to your users. That's often, it's not a make or break thing, but that's what's going to give some friction for them. And it's worth addressing in trainings or just calling out in meetings of that functionality isn't here anymore, but here's our new way of doing it, or here's our new workaround. I think ultimately it will be a better experience, user experience, as these things get better integrated. But we are finding, I mean, even as this was just like, oh, all the stuff you have to do. We are finding that it's useful to be thinking of these groups of apps together. Sorry, my visual didn't quite work, but not just that you're using all of them at one time, but be thinking about how you're strategically connecting these apps, essentially sort of in a solution or a workflow, and standardizing that for your team or for your organization. My expectation might be for my team that we always take meeting notes for that team, and then all follow-up is done around. Still do after action reports through email and Outlook or things like that. But one thing that we hear a lot as these apps get more functionality and some of them are doing the same things is a lot of confusion of like, I don't know where to do things anymore. Do I send an email? Do I do it in a Teams chat? I'm getting things all over the place. It's worth thinking about how to make that into a more standard workflow or solution for your team so that everyone starts knowing how to do things in a consistent way. And that's something we work on a lot here at Echolocity. And I think we're going to have more and more ability to pull in some of the nice automations you can get from Power Automate, these really powerful tools Microsoft has. I think we can start lining them up to make project management workflows and project management spaces more usable and consistent and more efficient. Really, like that you really can enter data one place and not have to worry about it being in a PowerPoint slide that you can't find or whatever else. So I'll just open it up if anyone else has any questions. But the big things we talked about today really were AI, since that's very much the forefront, very much what Microsoft wants. Different things, and we're working to get a better, more consolidated, holistic user experience, but it's not quite there yet. It's worth spending some time within your organization thinking about how to make it easier for your folks to leverage Microsoft stuff. Any other questions or thoughts? I'm happy to look at anything else in Microsoft. But we will also be doing this webinar again in about 3 months, next quarter, because there's always enough quarter to quarter to talk about as far as what's new.
Awesome. Thanks, Caroline. No questions here.
Thank you, Caroline.
Great.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Hope to see you soon, and check us out, echolocity.com if you haven't already. Bye.